Good evening, everyone. How y'all doing? You tired? Because I'm going to be honest, I am tired. Tonight, we should be talking about the many primary elections that are taking place across the country and the importance of our democracy. Like, that's what we should be doing tonight. But we're not doing that because, of course, all of that changed when the thing that seems to happen only here, only in America, happened again. And so we begin the readout tonight with yet another devastating tragedy that leaves us all, frankly, emotionally spent and exhausted and angry and indescribably sad. 14 little kids and one of their teachers are dead in Texas, and countless more are traumatized after yet another mass shooting. This one at Robb Elementary, an elementary school. The school is in Uvalde County, Texas, which is about 85 miles west of San Antonio. Texas Governor Greg Abbott identified the shooter as an 18-year-old Uvalde resident.
He shot and killed horrifically, incomprehensibly, 14 students and killed a teacher. In addition to that, it is being reported that the subject shot his grandmother right before he went into the school. And I have no further information about the connection between those two shootings. And the subject is reported to have been a student at Uvalde High School.
He added that the shooter abandoned his vehicle and entered Robb Elementary with a handgun and possibly a second firearm. Abbott added that the shooter was likely killed by responding officers, but that the events are still being investigated. It is unclear what prompted this man to harm these 14 children. President Biden has been briefed on the situation and is expected to address the country once he lands in more than an hour from a trip to South Korea. Moments ago, the White House said Biden spoke with Abbott and offered any assistance that he needs. This devastating news comes just 10 days after another 18-year-old, a self-identified white supremacist, entered a supermarket in Buffalo, New York, and methodically shot and killed 10 people while they were shopping, including 3 more, almost all of them black. The funerals for those dead have not even been completed when the Uvalde killer struck. Robb Elementary parents rushed to a reunification center to await news from the school about their kids. The scenes of those parents waiting, a parent's literal worst nightmare, are eerily similar to that god-awful day back on December of 2012 in Newtown, Connecticut, when yet another 18-year-old killer walked into an elementary school and killed 26 people, mostly kids and some of their teachers. 21 of the victims were children between 6 and 7 years old, and 6 were adult staff members. Nationally, 134 American children have been killed by gun violence just this year, and it's only May. According to the Texas Tribune, with Tuesday's shooting, there have been 8 shootings in Texas alone, in which at least 4 victims were killed. In 2018, a student opened fire at Santa Fe High School near Houston, killing 10 people and wounding 13 others. Under Governor Abbott, Texas has proudly pursued laws to get more guns into more hands. And Abbott famously tweeted that he was embarrassed that Texas was second behind California for new gun purchases. He urged Texans to pick up the pace, get more guns. He, along with the former president, Donald Trump, and Senators John Cornyn and Ted Cruz, are scheduled to speak at the National Rifle Association's 2022 annual meeting on Friday in Houston. Joining me now, Texas Congressman Joaquin Castro. Congressman Castro, thank you for being here. It is the worst kind of deja vu to have this conversation with you, because it feels like it's a conversation that leads nowhere. I don't know how many kids have to die before someone wants to do something about it, but I want you to just talk about this community, which is very near the community that you represent. What are they dealing with, going through, what is happening? And I just want you to talk.
Well, Joy, I mean, just like every American, just heartbroken at this tragedy today. And Uvalde is about 75 miles from my house. And it's kind of the midway point when you go from San Antonio on Highway 90 towards Del Rio and the U.S.-Mexican border. And it's a tight-knit community, just people. It's the kind of place where most people know each other. Small town, friendly place. It's overwhelmingly Mexican American. It's almost 80% Mexican American. I couldn't help when I heard the news but think about those parents who dropped their kids off at school this morning the way I did. I have a 6-year-old and an 8-year-old. I dropped them off at elementary school. And the fact that they won't be picking their kids up, and they didn't get a chance to pick their kids up. This morning was the last time they saw their kids alive. And, you wonder, what possesses somebody to go gun down 15 people, much less, 14 little kids. But then also, as a society, you wonder what possesses us to enable through our laws somebody to do that, to have weapons of war that allow somebody to kill people, a bunch of people in a matter of seconds before people can even turn around, before you even have a chance to respond. Texas.
Let me, I apologize for having to interrupt you, Congressman, but you will understand this because the Vice President of the United States, Kamala Harris, is speaking now, and she's going to address this shooting. So let's listen to Vice President Harris.
Thank you. What an incredible room. And Judy Chu, thank you for that introduction and for your leadership on so many levels. Tonight's a rough night. We planned for a great celebration, but I'm sure most of you have heard the tragic news about what has happened in Texas. So I had prepared comments about tonight, which I will speak, but I just first want to begin by saying a few words about the tragedy that occurred today in Uvalde, Texas. As many of you know, the reports are that it was a mass shooting at an elementary school. And the preliminary reports are that 14 children have been killed. And the details are still coming in, and of course the President and I are monitoring the situation closely. So while we don't know all the details yet, we do know that there are parents who have lost children, families that have lost children, and their loved ones, of course, and many others who may have been injured. So I would normally say in a moment like this, we would all say naturally that our hearts break, but our hearts keep getting broken. I think there's so many elected leaders in this room, you know what I'm talking about. Every time a tragedy like this happens, our hearts break. And our broken hearts are nothing compared to the broken hearts of those families. And yet it keeps happening. So I think we all know and have said many times with each other, enough is enough. Enough is enough. As a nation, we have to have the courage to take action and understand the nexus between what makes for reasonable and sensible public policy to ensure something like this never happens again. So the President will speak more about this later. But for now, I will just say to the people of Uvalde, please know that this is a room full of leaders who grieve with you. And we are praying for you, and we stand with you. And it is difficult at a time like this to think about much else, but I do look around this room, and I know who is here, and I know this is a room full of American leaders who know and have the courage to take a stand. And so let us tonight, as we do every time we all get together, recommit ourselves to having the courage to take action. And so that does bring me to the leaders who are in this room and the leaders of AIPAC. And again,
Vice President Kamala Harris, and I want to note for everyone, and you can see the signs behind her, she's speaking, at the Asia Pacific American Institute for Congressional Studies. That's the organization that she's speaking in front of. That's in D.C. It's their awards gala. So, of course, she went there to speak about Asian American and Pacific Islander community leadership. And you can see that that was the speech she had prepared to give. But like all of us, plans change when little kids get mowed down at an elementary school. in this case in the state of Texas. I want to bring back in Representative Joaquin Castro. I interrupted you, and so I want to let you finish. But I also would love for you to expound upon, I mean, you serve in the House of Representatives, where common sense gun reform has been passed year after year after year after year, only to die in the United States Senate. And two of the senators who have killed it are the two senators from Texas, Senator Cornyn and Senator Ted Cruz, who offered the usual thoughts and prayers today, used paper statements. Ted Cruz made some comments about protecting the rights of gun owners. They have refused to do anything to stop the next elementary school from getting shot up. And they are more passionate about protecting the rights of gun owners than they are about protecting, at least that is the appearance, because they really, that's where their passion seems to be. So I would love for you to talk about that, of being a legislator who's trying to actually legislate this issue, and it gets stopped in the other body, by the other party.
I mean, look, you're right, Joy. I mean, we've tried on universal background checks. We've tried to make it harder for people who are mentally unfit to get weapons. Republicans have made it easier. We've tried to take weapons of war off the street. And each of those initiatives, each of those pieces of legislation has been stopped cold by the Republican majority. They've tried in the House, but they've done it in the Senate. And, when these things happen over and over and over again, and we just went through Buffalo, Texas had the El Paso massacre a few years ago. We've had shootings in Florida and Texas and just Connecticut. It's hard not to reach the conclusion at some point that that there are policymakers who are okay with this happening, because they're not doing anything about it.